Hello and welcome to the AA Ireland podcast season 2 episode 6. My name is Blake Boland.
And I'm Paddy Common.
This week we are talking toll increases, EV charging increases, electric vans, do they work? And we talked to Pat Ryan and Ed Kelleher from IMI Ireland about the new Great Wall manufactured Aura Funky Cat. But we have to pay the bills somehow, so here's a word from our sponsors.
Are you thinking of renewing or shopping around for car insurance to get the best deal? The AA is one of Ireland's top car insurance intermediaries, and we've been providing car insurance for nearly 40 years. The AA has teamed up with some of the top insurers to compare quotes so you get the best level of cover to suit your needs at the right price. We also do the price checks so you don't have to. To find out more, go to the AA.ie. AA Ireland Limited, trading as AA Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Blake Boland, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Paddy. Good evening at this stage, nearly.
Good evening. It's Tuesday evening, the 22nd of November, and we are talking increases this week. Not a great week for the motorists. Now, hold the presses, stop the presses. We have just done our fuel price survey and petrol prices are down. They're back 6 cents a litre compared to just a month ago. So there is a reduction. So a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. But by and large, it's been not a great week for the motorists. First of all, this week we saw toll increases across the country. All tolls except the Port Tunnel.
Yeah, it's just blow after blow, isn't it, over the last half year or so. Now, I know you mentioned their prices have gone back a little bit for some of the fuels, but, you know, it's going from really, really bad to just quite bad.
Just quite bad. Yeah, the toll increases it was and is a strange story because it came out in the Irish Times, who broke the story earlier in the week, and they had reported that the tolls were going to go up to the maximum allowed under the agreements with the public-private partnership. So we were seeing some of the M50 going up 20, 30 cents, depending on how you paid for it, be it via toll, tag, camera, pay-as-you-go, whatever. Some of the other roads were going up 10 cents, but some of the larger hauliers were facing big bills because obviously of the incremental increases for, you know, trucks, vans, etc. There was quite a lot of backlash, and I think, Blake, it was probably down to timing as well, because let's face it, everyone is worried about costs right now.
Yeah, it's across the board, isn't it? It's household utilities, it's the price of clothes that you're paying for, it's your bread, everything's gone up, and sometimes it's the straw that breaks the camel's back. We know this, okay, you could say it's only just 20 or 30 cent here or there, but that adds up for a lot of people, and they're being squeezed so tight that any little extra blow at the moment really hurts. So, Blake,
just a couple of days after the announcement then of toll increases across the country, so that was Friday, we had the toll story. Then yesterday, Monday, we had news of further increases, and these were for electric vehicle customers. So customers of the eCars ESB charging network, public charging network, we're going to see an increase of 50%.
Yeah,
public charging costs.
Yeah, about 50, you know, sometimes 48, sometimes 51%. Let's just call it 50% for the public chargers on the ESB network. It's a massive increase, and it's really eroding those gains that EV drivers would have been making on the savings, because if you're charging at these real high power chargers now, you're approaching parity with just driving costs, you know, on fuel alone with the likes of a frugal diesel.
I'll read you out some of the increases in charges here. So standard charging on charging points putting out less than 22 kilowatts will increase from 33 cents per kilowatt hour to 50 cents per kilowatt hour, a 51.4% increase. Fast charging of 50 kilowatts will increase from around 39 cents per kilowatt hour to 58 cents per kilowatt hour, a 48.7% increase. And high powered chargers, which are over 50 kilowatts, will increase by 45.9% from 42 cents per kilowatt hour to 61 cents per kilowatt hour. Now, these prices, big asterisks, are for people who take out a monthly subscription, which is €4.79 per month. Pay-as-you-go customers pay fractionally more for each of those charges. Can you maybe give us an example of, you know, real world examples of what that would look like? So say the examples that we had used earlier in the week were a Nissan Leaf and then the top selling car, the ID4. So what will that price look like in real terms?
Yeah, well, drivers of the likes of an ID4, now that's got a 77 kilowatt hour usable battery, so that's the capacity of the energy inside it. So they're going to see, drivers of this car are going to see a full charge now costing just under €40 at a standard charger. And then if you go up to use one of the high power chargers, you're looking at about $47.50. And that's up from $32.50 before. So that's just a gigantic sum of money to pay. Now, something like an ID4 is, a solid 400 to 450 kilometre car in general. But if you're going from Dublin to Cork, you can knock that down to about 300, very late 200. So all of a sudden, if you have charged up exclusively on the high power chargers, you're kind of that 35, 40 euros for your trip down to Cork. When we might have had this conversation 2 years ago, and it was a fraction of that, because this isn't the first increase that we've seen from ESB in the last few months.
So is there a quantifiable point where, and look, we're obviously going to put aside the issue that an EV is much cleaner than a petrol or diesel car, but what point would the two meet? So if electricity reached, 80 cents or 60 cents, what would be the point where you'd be around the same price as running a petrol or diesel car?
Yeah, and I'm glad you touched on that point there, because it is important to remember this is just purely for that journey and that kilometres covered. If we start going into the cost of ownership in total, they're still far cheaper for maintenance stuff. But we reckon it's in that kind of early 70 cent mark now. The price of petrol diesel is fluctuating all the time.
That's coming back actually from where we were last month.
Yeah, but we're looking at in and around that 70. So if you are charging exclusively on those high power chargers on the ESB, you're not far off parity at this stage. But having said that, this on a motorway trip, obviously you're going back into the city, the EV gets even cheaper again. So you can't ever say exactly, but it's
and if you were using Ionity, which is without a subscription, that can be 73 cents
in around. Yeah, they're up into the 80s, at the full price. But there's various different cards that you can get. So you're on like a program or a membership scheme almost, which makes it a little bit cheaper. Yeah.
Now, Friday afternoon, you and I set out on a small adventure. We set out in 2 electric vans. Now, what was the point of this? You've been sitting editing a video which is now on YouTube. If you haven't gone to our YouTube channel, please do so, because this one in particular we are quite proud of, because it's a review of 2 electric vans, but it is with a twist. Blake, set the scene.
Yeah, we put a lot of time into this one, and it's great to get real life practical examples. What is an electric van and what can it do? We could throw out numbers and efficiency and all this stuff, but we said, no, do you know what, let's give the day over to this and let's do an experiment. So we got 2 fully electric vans. I had the magnificent Maxus eDeliver 3, which is maybe a little bit smaller than your kind of standard Transit, and then you had the Peugeot ePartner, the long wheelbase ones. So kind of similar price, similar capacity, similar power, similar range, give or take 10.
One a bit more car-like than the other, but two usable EV vans. Oh, and what are people's concerns about an electric commercial vehicle?
Well, it's range, really, isn't it? I mean, that's the big thing that it comes down to. So what did we do on the day, Paddy? We wanted to do 2 things. One was just the review. Let's go through the Maxes, the buttons, what sort of payload can take, and all these kind of things. But then also compare that to the Peugeot and see how they match up. But we put a twist on it as well, because it wasn't just about reviewing the 2 vans. We wanted to find something else out, Paddy, didn't we?
Yeah, well, we wanted to see what happens when you put some payload into these vehicles, because it's all very good driving these things around empty. But the concern that people have, and even the concern that people in the yard we were in, and a shout out to Wogan's and Drogheda, who were very, very helpful with this. People are concerned that if you put something in the back of an EV, a decent payload, that the range is going to dissolve. So our task was very simple. We drove an 80-kilometre route, totally empty, and then, thanks to Wogan's in Drogheda, we put 500 kilograms of concrete bags on pallet into the back of each one. So look, tell us about the route. Break down the route for us, because we started off in where we live in Drogheda.
Yeah. So went from Wogan's, cut across to Colin, then up to RD and up to...
You know you were blowing. It's Cullen.
Cullen, isn't it?
We'll have letters from Loud saying, "Who's that fella calling it Colin?"
Cullen, okay.
Cullen,
right. Cullen with an O. So yeah, we went from there then up through RD to Dundalk, stopped off in a Circle K garage just beside Dundalk IT, and then headed back down the motorway to get back to Wogan. So it was a real mixture of a bit of town driving between Cullen, RD, Dundalk and Drogheda, obviously back roads and country roads, and then also a blast down the motorway.
So were we trying to do anything in particular? Hypermiling, no aircon?
No, that defeats the purpose. I mean, these are working vehicles. Time is money for people, and they need to keep on the move. So we just, we went as fast as we could, but obviously safely and within the speed limits. We weren't hanging back. We had the heating on, demisters whenever we needed.
And give us an idea of the rough capacity and motor size of these vehicles.
Yeah, so the Peugeot e-Partner has a 50 kilowatt hour battery. 45 of that is usable, and that's the standard platform that we're seeing in the E2008, the Citroen EC4, rolled out across Stellantis Group.
So it has precedent.
Oh yeah, this has been in hundreds of thousands of vehicle already. And then we have the Maxus, so that's a Chinese brand from SAIC Motor, and they also own the MG brand actually as well. That has a 52.5 kilowatt hour battery, and about 50 of that is usable. So Maxus had 10-12% bigger battery, but then again it's a bigger, blockier van with a much bigger cargo load capacity and internal capacity as well. So we expected maybe the efficiency will be a bit lower.
So are we talking creature comforts, air conditioning, Apple CarPlay, that kind of thing?
Yeah, heated seats, like two excellent vans, One, I think we both agreed that the Maxus was a little bit more utilitarian, that kind of wipe clean surface, and I was very surprised with the Peugeot e-Partner. I mean, very much car-like, wasn't it?
Yeah, you could quite happily drive that around as an everyday vehicle. You didn't really feel shortchanged at all in that, and certainly, really nice seats, very comfortable. The Maxus for me had a much more robust, but a kind of a van where you'd throw stuff in the back. You wouldn't really care. You wouldn't care if it got dusty. You'd be throwing your notebooks on the dashboard. Whereas the Peugeot, you could maybe drive to the cinema in the evening and collect your missus in it, and she wouldn't be too grumpy with you.
A little bit more refined, that third seat up at the front as well. But for me, it was kind of the Maxus is that little bit cheaper. Kind of, what was it, 8 or 10% cheaper, €3,000 thereabouts. A good bit bigger inside. And a good extra range as well. One thing that didn't quite make the video, Paddy, because I drove the Peugeot e-Partner at home, and we were thinking about 20%, but before I'd gotten home, even 2 or 3 kilometres down the road, it was starting to blink at me saying, low charge now. So the Maxus does have a good bit more range in it. And it's like, if I'm a plumber or something like that, absolutely, I'm going for the Maxus all day. But for me personally, just moving stuff around, the car-like feel of the Peugeot made it a bit nicer.
So if you want to go over to the YouTube channel and watch the whole video, please do. But the conclusion was quite an odd one.
It was not expected, and that's why people have to go and watch the video, of course. But yeah, do we want to summarise it?
No, I think we will let people go and watch it for themselves. But I think what we can say is that it was surprising in a good way in terms of both the performance on each vehicle, and I think it might allay some of the fears that people would have about getting into one.
Yeah, I'd say people have the idea if you throw 500 kilos of cement mix in the back of your van, you're going to destroy the range, and the results were surprising.
Moving away from that, a vehicle that's been getting an awful lot of headlines over the last couple of weeks, and we've seen various YouTube videos, and your own colleague Derek Riley had done an excellent review on his channel, and it's a car we will see here is the Ora Funky Cat. Now, an unusual name.
Very.
What is an Ora Funky Cat?
It's another Chinese car that's coming over to Europe now. Very good value. Great specs, fantastic specs for the price, and it's another car a little bit like the MG4 that we reviewed on the channel there recently, that's just putting down a marker for a lot of the established European makers.
Now, I was in it this week. Now I haven't driven it yet. I was a passenger. How would you describe? I would certainly have my way of describing how it looks. It looks like a merger, United Nations of lots of different car designs. There's a little bit of Porsche 911 there. There's definitely some Beetle. There's absolutely some Mini there. Yeah. There's some Fiat 500 at the back. And then some people think the silhouette is like the first generation Nissan Leaf.
Oh, well, yeah.
The footprint is exactly the same as a Volkswagen Golf, and the dimensions are exactly the same as a Volkswagen ID3.
Yeah. I mean, it does well for internal space, doesn't it? Apart from the boot, but in terms of the passengers, it seems to do quite well.
For me, I think this car is going to be an absolute rip-roaring success.
You reckon?
Oh, yes.
Okay, even though it's just followed on the heels of the MG4 being announced.
Yeah, because the MG4 is undoubtedly going to be a success. They have decent supply, but they don't. Neither of them has, I imagine, unlimited supply. Although both companies are saying that they are incredibly confident about what they will get in terms of supply, especially IM, who we spoke to. So I was in the offices of IM Group Ireland this week, and I sat down with, firstly, Ed Kelleher, who is the product guru from their company, and he knows everything about this product. He really does, and he gave me a very in-depth presentation about the product. And we spoke to him firstly, and then that's followed up by a chat with Pat Ryan, who is a former colleague of mine and the managing director of IM Group Ireland. So we've just had our first look at the amazing Aura Funky Cat, and we're joined by the product guru about this car here for Ireland, Edmund Kelleher. Ed, this car is really, really impressive, and I think it's one that will take an awful lot of people by surprise. Can you give us a very brief overview of the offering for Ireland?
Yeah, sure, Paddy. So Aura Funky Cat, it's an all-new brand. It's an all-new product into Ireland, and it's very much on point for what the market needs right now. So we'll have two offerings. We'll have 300 Pro and 400 Pro Plus. But I suppose more importantly, the size of the vehicle. The size of the vehicle is on par with that same footprint as a Golf, as the current Golf. Dimensionally speaking, it's almost identical to the ID3 and to the Hyundai Kona. It's very well priced, a very competitive starting price of just €5 short of 32,000 euro. It comes with really, really good specification. It comes with a 5-star NCAP. It comes with a 5-year unlimited mileage warranty, 5-year roadside assistance, and it has a range of either 310 kilometers or 420 kilometers, depending on which model you choose.
Obviously, yeah, I was going to say people in Ireland are still, when they're buying EVs, are concerned about range. Less so, I think it's becoming less of an issue. But one of the main selling points with this is how it looks. It's obviously this is audio, but we'll send on a link in the description to show you what it looks like. But it's a stunning looking car. It's really quirky, and it kind of lives up to its funky name, right?
Yeah, very funky, and that's kind of. We've presented the car at many public events here in Ireland, and that's always the initial reaction is it's really cool looking, it's very quirky, it kind of reminds them of maybe Mini, Fiat 500, or even the new Smart #1. So it's really got personality and character and quirkiness about it, which gets us even more excited about this product.
And what struck me about sitting in it was the quality. Like the quality is really, really exceptional.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't use that word lightly. It's exceptional.
Yeah.
And so, we've had guests over the last number of weeks on the podcast talking about this sort of Chinese invasion in a good way when it comes to EVs. This is one of the finest examples we'll see for some time. Now, obviously, first things first, are people going to have any difficulty adapting to this car, or is it a car that people coming from an ICE vehicle are going to adapt into very, very quickly?
Yeah, I think, Paddy, it'll be a home from home experience for most. So size wise, it's that of a Golf, so it's very spacious, except it's taller, so it's very spacious. It's got the 5-star NCAP, it's got the 5-year unlimited mileage warranty. Aura have a European head office in Munich. That's no coincidence because they have a joint venture with BMW. So the vehicle is being steered and shaped by European automotive professionals who've helped deliver this standard of product. But as you say, it's the premiumness and the execution of the product that really sets it apart from the pack. Really, really high quality premium EV.
And finally, Ed, when can people start to A, test drive one, and B, purchase one?
So the vehicles are, as we speak, on the high seas, and they're due to touch down in very early December. So expect to be in a position to test drive these vehicles from some point in early December onwards.
And we're joined now by Pat Ryan, who is Managing Director of IMI Ireland. You've got a bit of a winner on your hand here, I think, Pat. Obviously, it's difficult to get too excited about a car from your point of view, from a business perspective, before it comes. But look, tell us some of the nuts and bolts that you can share with us about number of vehicles that you'll have. You mightn't want to get into actual numbers, but firstly with this Aura Funky Cat, how is supply going to be?
It's been it's actually an unusual situation, Paddy, for us, I suppose. Firstly, by the way, thank you for coming to visit us here. The production is the easy part. Actually, its shipping is proven to be a little bit more complex. But we expect to have over 500 cars here on the ground in January. We're going down the traditional kind of dealer route. We feel it's a new brand. Customers will want to come in and purchase
touch and feel,
touch and feel, drive the car, and deal with kind of a very reputable kind of dealers that we're going to appoint. So we will have a dealer appointed in Dublin probably before Christmas, and maybe and hopefully Cork as well, and then Galway will follow very early in January.
Do you have an idea as yet as to what a right sizing looks like in terms of dealer network?
We will start with three dealers, and three again, just Dublin, Cork, Galway, and then we will start to, once we understand where the sales rate and how many cars we can get in, we will review it then maybe in the second half of next year. But really, I suppose we've partnered up with three very, very high caliber household names that people will be familiar with and trust and have been doing business for many years in their locality. So we will. We feel confident that with the fantastic car that is the Aura Funky Cat and the very reputable dealer network that we should have a good year next year.
So can we expect more products coming from yourselves in terms of Aura or other brands coming?
We're just focusing, I suppose, at the moment, just trying to get the dealerships open and getting all the technical stuff kind of sorted in the background. I mean, look, the IM Group obviously have responsible for the Subaru franchise in Ireland, and it's something that we're very anxious and very excited about getting our new models launched there.
And just on that, the news is the Solterra SUV is coming as well very soon.
That's correct. Yeah, it has actually landed, and it will be start of sales in January again through our existing Subaru network.
So exciting times ahead for the Irish market, because we've seen the arrival of MG. Now we're seeing Great Wall with the Aura Funky Cat, and certainly they didn't tell me explicitly, but it does seem like they will have some more product coming our way as well. We've been out to Harris distribution as well out in the Nice Road, and we've seen some amazing products. What did we see a couple of weeks ago? I can't remember the name. You might remember.
Oh, it was the Mifa, wasn't there? And then we saw the Maxus pickup truck as well, both all electric. These are stunning machines, and we're going to see those in a few weeks' time. That's really exciting.
I love the Mifa. That was amazing.
I know, and only a prototype as well. We were sitting in one of the armchairs, you would have to call it, in the back, weren't you? I mean, they're not seats, they're armchairs, and the screen was still in Chinese, wasn't it?
I suppose to describe it, it would be like those vehicles that you would see Westlife being hurried away from a concert in. Traditionally would have been some sort of Mercedes V-Class or Volkswagen Caravelle, but this was an electric vehicle, very futuristic looking, big battery, big electric motor, and huge comfortable armchairs in the back, and the best of technology. Now, but this is a €100,000 vehicle, but coming our way very soon.
Yeah, I can't wait to get our hands on this, and we can ferry each other around in ultimate luxury.
What are you driving at the moment?
I picked up the Polestar 2 yesterday, so I have that for a few weeks now. A special project going on with that, which I'm really excited about. But it's a stunning car, and also I've got the version of that Polestar 2 is the long range dual motor with the plus pack on it. So I have the panoramic roof, the Harman Kardon sound system, but I've got 300 kilowatts, so give or take 400 horsepower in this, Paddy. All wheel drive. This thing is stuck to the road. It's as a driver's car, it's just superb.
And we're heading to Waterford on Thursday to try out 2 different types of vehicles.
Yeah, this is going to be exciting. So we have electric scooters coming up. That should be a bit of fun there. And then also the trip down itself. We're going to get a video out of this because we've got a couple of exciting cars to face off on the trip down.
Yeah, the Kia EV6 GT. Now, what is that, you might ask? Well, that is Kia's ultimate expression of their EV6. A performance-biased, performance-based Kia EV6. And quite a thing, but quite a price.
It's just bonkers. I mean, a Kia that's approaching €100,000, what is that? You know, a Kia that can beat something like a Ferrari in the quarter mile race. What? This just doesn't make sense.
Well, a Kia that's, you know, what this is, €85,000 would have been absolutely laughable 3 years ago, but no one is laughing now. Now, it's a lot of money for a Kia. It is. It's a lot of money for any car.
Yeah, I just don't fully agree with you on that one, Paddy. Not to say that you're wrong, but you know, it does seem strange, and to say that it's an €85,000 Kia, you go, yeah, no, that's just silly. That's ridiculous. But what else can do what that Kia does? I mean, it's got, you know, 500 litres of space in the back, 5 adults comfortably, goes to 100 kilometres an hour in 3.5 seconds. Like, what do you have to spend to get something else that can keep up with that? And then you're like, ooh, 85's a bargain.
Yeah, I know. It's not that I'm picking on the Kia brand as such. It's just, do you need to spend that much money when a 55, 60 grand EV will go very, very fast? And I'm talking about within its own range.
Yeah,
a nicely spec'd EV6 is not a slow car.
No, I fully agree with you when you're framing it like that. You know, absolutely. It's ridiculous. And even the Polestar 2 that I have is a full second slower, but it's still too fast, really, you know.
Because I love the Polestar 2. I'm unashamedly a fanboy of the Polestar 2, but I would buy the entry-level car with a few bits and bobs on it.
Yeah, so would I.
I'd be totally happy. Now, maybe I'm just getting boring in my old age, but how much power do you need on a public road?
You can't even use it. I noticed there, when you're out in the Polestar, you want to merge onto a motorway, let's say, so you're carrying 60, 70 kilometres there. You plant your foot, and in about 2.5, 3 seconds, you've lost your licence. I mean, you know, what's the point? Like, when you put your foot to the floor, and by the time you've pressed it, you're already up to 120, and you have to ease off again, you know.
Okay, we will be back next week. We will have a pack show next week where, amongst other things, we will be bringing you updates from how we get on in Waterford with our electric scooter adventure. We will talk you through the latest cars we've been driving, but we also will have plenty more. So that's it. Follow us on all of our social platforms, be it Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, we're even on TikTok. And of course, do subscribe to us, A, on our YouTube channel, and B, wherever you get your podcasts. That's it for this week.
Thank you very much for listening.